Hey, what's good? Welcome to my underrated fights series where I talk about fights that are really good but aren't usually remembered as much and aren't talked about among some of the best fights that there is or have been, like Gotti Ward, Ali Frazier, Barrera Morales, and those fights are great in their own right. But there are some fights that are great, but for some reason or another, they just don't get talked about. Today, I will be talking about marvelous Marvin Hagler versus John the Beast Mugabi. A little bit of background. Hagler was making his 11th defense. He had 10 defenses, 9. This was his 12th defense. And he had 11 knockouts. The only knockout he didn't get was against Roberto Duran. That's right. Duran's the only man that went 15 rounds with Hagler. Oh, and I wanted you guys to see this cover from the Ring magazine. It said, "Will Hagler feast on the beast?" I thought it was pretty cool. But Mugabi was a beast. He had 26 fights, 26 knockouts. So he was borderlining, Valero. Valero had 27 wins and 27 knockouts. So Mugabi was a beast. All his fights had ended by knockouts, and he finally got his shot at the middleweight title of the world. So this fight was going to be a shootout. It was going to be a great fight because both of these guys could bang. And it started off like that. It started off with John the Beast Mugabi landing some hard, I'm talking about bombs. I'm talking about, murderous hooks, left hooks and right hooks when Hagler wanted to get in. Like, he could not get in at first because he was getting hit with hard shots, man. I don't know what Hagler's chin is made of, but man, you gotta respect the man. If you don't respect him, I don't know what's wrong with you, because Hagler had a great chin. He had a chin made of like concrete, like granite, something that diamond. It was like his chin's like made of diamond, the hardest substance in the universe. Because whether you could see that these shots bothered him, but I can never say that any of these shots exactly hurt him. So I gave John Mugabi the first rounds because Hagler was just trying to move in. But once he was inside, Mugabi would throw these hard shots that stopped him in his tracks. You don't see Hagler ever buckled, but you do see him stop. And that's when he's hurt, or that these shots have hurt him, because he's not moving forward. You got John the Beast Mugabi fighting, and you got Hagler trying to get in, but he won't let him. But he's still throwing these combinations from the outside. So starting round 5, he stays with his southpaw stance, and he starts jabbing and jabbing, and round 6 I gave it to Hagler. No, round 5, round 6 you have to give it to Hagler. Round 3 and 5 I gave it to Hagler. And then, so he started boxing, but John the Beast Mugabi was still going in, still trying to hit him. And both of these guys had great chins, because Hagler was landing some bombs too, man. I'm telling you, this was a brawl. But if it was a total brawl, like the whole time, Mugabi might have won. Which is why Hagler started to throw out his jab, something that John the Beast Mugabi didn't use. The only complaint, no complaint, but I guess criticism I have of Hagler's performance is he probably should have banged the body more. I think if he banged the body, he would have had him out there quicker, because he took some big shots in round 6. He hurt him. John the Beast Mugabi had was going forward the whole fight, trying to hurt Hagler like throughout the fight, and he was landing, and which is why I said that Hagler started jabbing. So you have Hagler landing some bombs in round 6 that actually backed up Mugabi into the ropes, but Mugabi doesn't even clinch. I think he clinched once, like for half a second. Mills Lane broke him up, and he never clinched again. It was brutal. It's an exhausting fight. It's even exhausting to watch, man. You're like, whoa, man. Mugabi has a crazy good chin. Those shots in round 6 were massive shots, hard shots. But that's why it backed him up, and he was like springing off the ropes, but he started throwing bombs at Hagler too. Hard bombs. I'm telling you, man. Hagler, not that any of you don't know this, but it's amazing watching Hagler fight some of these huge punchers. So, yeah, this was Mugabi undefeated, 26 fights, 26 KOs, and this was Hagler's 12th defense, but he was on a career high because he had just destroyed Tommy Hearns. So, he's in his career high. He finally got the respect from the media, from Larry Merchant, in the post-fight video. He's like, "What's up now, Larry? You gonna give me my props now?" And he got his props after that fight. Finally, that's what it took. So this was the second to last fight, and Hagler did not disappoint, man. Hagler was exciting. They knew back then that they have a duty to the fans as much as themselves, because they're getting paid a lot of money, and fans spend a lot of money in watching them fight. Hagler knew that, but it was also his style and his granite chin, because I'm gonna say his diamond chin. If it wasn't for his diamond chin, then there's no way that he would have fought the way he fought. Tommy Hearns would have got him out there first round if he didn't have a great chin. Duran had a great chin, and Tommy still got him out there. Yeah, but after the 6th round, when he hurt him, Mugabi was never the same. He was backing up. He was getting touched, and he would only touch Hagler once in a while. But it was still exciting. You got Hagler. Hagler was started chasing him down now, but Mugabi wasn't really he couldn't fight that well fighting backwards, as he was used to knocking cats out. His average for fights was, I think it was something like 2.8 rounds. So on average, he had gone less than 3 rounds on average for his 26 total fights. So Hagler took him into the deep territory. Round 8, round 9, he was touching him, but Mugabi wasn't totally laying down for him, and he was getting hit with some brutal shots. I want to emphasize that, man. He was getting hit with some hard right hooks, hard left hands, and occasionally some hard to the body. In my opinion, not enough hard shots to the body, but exciting fight. And then in round 11, I think it was just from pure exhaustion. I don't know how Hagler wasn't exhausted too. He was exhausted. You could see it after the fight that he was exhausted. But Hagler just had one thing that is emphasized is diamond chin, but also one thing that isn't really emphasized when you talk about Hagler is his amazing stamina. Hagler had great stamina as well. When he would train, he's like, "I'm going to jail." This was his wife's birthday that day. It was his wife's birthday, and he's fighting a freaking beast, man. So Hagler took his training seriously. Which is why he had a great stamina, and he had power, he had stamina, he had a diamond chin. Ain't no one gonna beat him. No one was gonna beat Hagler. Leonard beat Hagler through the judges, but no one was gonna beat Hagler in his middleweight ring. He had it all. Hagler had it all. In round 11, he landed a few hard right hooks that buckled Mugabi, had him against the ropes. Hagler No, no, it didn't have him against the ropes. Actually, he hit him with a right hook that stunned him, and then he hit him again, and then he fell along the ropes. Man, you could just see it was the accumulation. It was the accumulation of all the punches, and just from pure exhaustion, he 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 was laying on his back, and you could see him just looking at the ref, just looking at him like he didn't know what to do or where he was, or he did know what to do, but his body was just totally exhausted. At like 9, his arm moved a little bit to grab the rope, and it was over. 10. Man, it thus ended one of the most brutal fights that Hagler has ever been in. One of possibly Hagler's hardest fight, and his last title defense. Unfortunately, he said he was thinking of retiring after the fight, and he retired his very next fight. It's a shame because Tommy Hearns was on commentary, man, and they were talking about a rematch. I would have loved to see Tommy Hearns Marvin Hagler rematch. It probably wouldn't have been as exciting as the first fight, but that fight would have been really interesting. Really trying to see. Tommy probably would have tried to box for all 12 rounds, and Hagler might have entered the same way. It'd have been interesting to see if he could have outboxed a Hagler that was as determined. But then again, maybe Hagler knew that he would only be determined to fight Sugar Ray Leonard. So he fought that fight, then retired, and the rematch with Leonard never materialized. A rematch with Tommy Hearns never materialized. But that's the way things go. But we got this brutal fight, which is an underrated classic as well, guys. After this fight, Mugabi was finished. Like he never was the same because it was just so brutal. He got knocked out. He got starched by Terry Norris, but that was until 1990, and he got starched in one round against Gerald McClellan. This fight happened in March 10th, 1986, but he lost his very next fight. But that's how much it was due to the thumb in the eye, but that's how brutal this fight was, that he was just never the same. I think that's part of the reason why he retired. But that night, these fools gave us a beautiful display in pugilistic brutality. Thank you, Marvin Hagler. Thank you, John Mugabi. And thank you for watching. What are some underrated fights you could think of? Fights that don't get usually talked about when we talk about some of the greatest fights ever made. Don't forget to rate and subscribe. Peace.